one that I bought for you to use. And then I just went through my drawer, like I have a drawer with papers in it and that sort of thing. So I thought, okay, I'll just go through my drawer and show you kind of how I might approach it. So I have this, and it's wallpaper. So I thought, that's kind of neat. Maybe I could do something with that. So I just lay that down on there. And I thought, okay, I could have like an old-fashioned theme, I could have a pink theme, I could have whatever. So then I thought, okay, well, this is kind of lacy, so that might go. And then I thought, well, this is kind of the same color, so that might work. And it's got, and then I had other rose-related types of paper from the dollar store.
Yes, I have
Yes,
two.
so have I.
There you go.
There you see.
And then I thought, well, I might be able to add some beads to it or something. I had these at home. I have these stickers from the dollar store, roses. I wouldn't use the red one, but I might use a pink one. Then I thought, oh, maybe you could add some ribbon to it. Or a feather. So once you decide that you like how those things go together, then you just start arranging them or cutting them out, or you could say, I don't like this blue thing, I'm going to take that off. That's all there is to it. And then you just start arranging the stuff and seeing what it looks like, whether you want to add something more, whether you want to take something away, whether you want to cut it up. So for example, you could cut this, or you could cut out the roses and you could stick it on individually. You could just glue it on as is and put a feather. You could write on it. You could do that, paint on it.
What do you do around the edge?
Well, what I did, it depends. So what I did for this one was I painted it.
And that's what artists are doing now. They're
Yeah.
not framing, because framing is so expensive.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law is a professional artist, and he just paints the frames black,
Just on the wall.
and then they can go on the wall.
Yeah, so this would be like ready to hang. As I say, I'm putting this one in my garden shed, so I stuck a little butterfly on.
Or you can actually, when you're putting your papers on, have them go right over the edge.
You can put
Like
them
I
right
put
over
this
the edge.
on tissue paper, and I was going to have it just go right over the edge.
So I did bring there are lots of different books. I just have this one. But so you can use colored, for example, you could paint on a piece of paper.
You just lost your book. Sorry about that.
You could paint on a piece of paper, which I did with acrylic paint.
Oh.
And then you could cut that out and use that in your collage. As I say, I've got a drawer full of papers and stickers, so it's just anything that you have. So for example, if you wanted to do your artifacts,
Tiny little theatre programs with pens dangling off them. Oh, dance programs, sorry. And theatre. Yeah.
so you could
Yeah.
cut out a silhouette of a dancer, which you could find in a book. You could, really, the other thing I brought was,
You're going to be able to make one of these.
Let's go. Make the tea.
Well, hello.
Oh.
just as an example, I only brought a few things, but, so if you've got old jewelry lying around, you can, cut out a bead and stick a bead on if it was appropriate. This was a little pin I had, a little teddy bear with a half moon. I'm just describing how better to do it. So you can stick that on. The other thing you could do is press flowers and then just put the pressed flower on. buttons.
I'm home.
You know, I might decide that goes on there, which is, it's an old earring, so I would just cut the back off and put that on. Anything. You can also use either painted paper or, so for example, I use the color green here, but one of the things you could do is use the different colors to create a whole new picture as a collage. So you might want, there are examples in that book where you've got pieces of colored paper that, well, there's one there, the hippopotamus. So that's all collage pieces of paper.
Papers, yeah.
Yeah.
The shape is just covered with bits.
Just covered with bits.
That,
And the
that
bits.
was kind of neat.
You can use pieces of
taken
string and
woven-
fabric. It
woven
can be as
things together
simple
and then-
as a nice piece of cheesecloth or that type material with ribbons and a button. There was a whole series of collages that I saw recently, and it was what a woman had done after the death of her child, her son, and she'd done about 10 of these, and they were all in shades of gray to black, and they were very, very simple, but they spoke to her of, so it might have been a button from his sweater, with a little, some of them had little poems attached, some of them were just plain. So it can be, you know, anything. If you like flowers, do one that, you know, you could create one that's a garden, you could create a garden scene.
That's done with dyed fabrics, on a dyed fabric background. That's all fabrics. But you could do that with papers. You could just
They
take
could do that with paper, that would be kind of like,
just in the
oh, I did this one.
and what it
I mean,
was folk art.
You know, the other thing is you don't really have to
Just thinking of
have,
that sheet and
you don't necessarily have to start out with an idea. You could just start out with pieces of paper that you either like the color, you like the shape, you like the texture, and start layering those. You can layer paper. I didn't start out thinking I would do a bouquet of flowers. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
You started off with one flower, did you?
No, I just started off, I started off with this piece of paper. I really liked, and I didn't have very much of it. And so I got that piece of paper and I thought, okay, I want to use that. And then I really wanted to use a bit of doily, and so I just started playing with them and putting them down, and it just started building itself.
I'm amazed that you put aluminum foil under there to make them bunchy. I would never have thought of that. That's an awesome idea.
Was the only thing I could think of that would hold it
stay.
a shape
Yeah.
of some sort. So
Fun. Lots of ideas.
now you could even, I don't know what's in the cupboard here, but there might be some things in the cupboard that you could use. I did bring some paper, which you're welcome to use. I did bring, if you want to use these bits, I just have a couple of buttons in there. There might be, I don't know
I
if there are
brought-
weaving magazines hanging around or.
I brought some magazines, a few, and I brought some feathers.
I have feathers. There are some paints that we could use.
And I
so-
brought small tubes of acrylic paint just from a kit I had at home. So if anybody wanted a specific
Yeah.
color or a little bit of whatever. Yep.
Great.
So, a couple of things though is play with it. Like before you put any acrylic on, just keep moving things around because you might like it, and then you move something around and you might like it a whole lot better. Or when you stand and look at it, it all of a sudden becomes something that you didn't, you know, you might turn it this way and it's something else. So you don't have to come with a prescribed idea necessarily. It can be just as easy as going through bits and pieces and making it work.
And you can always build up. You can
And
always
you can
cover
build up.
up. Like if
Absolutely.
something just doesn't look right or it's taking up too
Yeah.
much space, you just build up on top of it.
Just put something else over it.
Exactly.
And let part of it show through.
Yeah.
You may find, like you even your colors out. If you look, you know, your blues are all mingled in, your reds,
Yeah.
your yellows, and oranges.
Well,
and
for
that's
example,
something to think about too.
I painted the background first, and I added this stuff, and I hated the background. So then I found the blue foil, and I started adding the blue foil on it.
Yeah.
And I liked it better with the blue foil on it.
Gives it more depth or richness of color.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're right, it's amazing.
It makes quite a difference if you put a frame on it.
But it sort of bounces off the red.
Here, take the frame off for a second so I can just see the without the frame and then with the frame. And I see you have two different oh, I see. It's one.
Yeah, it's
It's
one.
a one set of frames.
Yep.
I see.
A little darker. It's
They're,
amazing how,
they're
how
expensive too.
that really changes
Absolutely.
the
Double
mask.
the mark.
Double mask.
They're almost impossible to cut your own
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Well, we should
Exactly.
suggest to Mera they buy one of those cutting machines. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Oh.
So these are just some examples and just kind of an idea about, you know, how to think about getting started.
Can I ask
And,
a question of the group generally? Did you cut that out or did you get it done professionally?
that, I bought it at Michael's.
Oh, okay. It just happens to fit.
I know. I just happen to have this mat that just happened to fit this picture.
Because is there any way of doing neat corners on cardboard?
You
have
can
to
get
get
a
a
mat
special-
cutting machine.
Yeah.
It's
You
amazing.
can buy it at Lee
So
Valley.
easy. if you
Oh,
have
you
the
mean
right
it's
equipment.
If you have the right equipment,
It's expensive.
and it's very expensive to buy them.
Yeah, so you'd have to be really justified.
Like this one
So
was
we're
on
gonna make
sale.
collages today. Show you later.
Oh, you have a
Bye.
mat cutting machine.